This week that a Humane Society investigation carried out last fall turned up items using illegal elephant ivory. Now, these items were for sale at 29 Connecticut stores. Elephant ivory is illegal because it's sourced by carving tusks out of elephants, sometimes while they're still alive.
Now, joining us to give us more detail and a wider perspective on the illicit ivory trade is Catherine Kohlberg, Director of Marine and Wildlife Protection for the Humane Society of the United States. Catherine, we certainly appreciate your time. Let's dive right in. I don't think illicit ivory has been on many people's radar screens for a long time. How did this investigation come about?
Absolutely. Well, our undercover investigation in November 2023, which we released yesterday at the Capitol by the Humane Society of the United States and Humane Society International, found over 160 items likely carved from elephant ivory across the state of Connecticut. Out of the 29 stores visited, 19 had ivory for sale, so most of the stores visited. 6 counties were visited. They all were selling ivory. Of the 22 towns visited, 15 had stores that were selling ivory across the state, from Branford to Clinton, Glastonbury to Old Saybrook. So what this demonstrates is there's a loophole in federal law. And it's a confusing issue, but federal law prohibits the import, export, or sale across state lines of new elephant ivory. So the lack of a state law in Connecticut demonstrates that a law is needed to close this loophole.
So if illicit ivory is being sold here in our state, it must be in most states. You kind of have been talking a little bit about that. How widespread is the problem then in the U.S.?
That's a great question, and the problem is this is such an illicit, murky trade that's, there's online sales, secretive sales. It's very difficult to really know. So this is why we undertake these investigations, and we use all of our tools in our toolbox to kind of document the issue. As of this year, the HSUS and HSI have helped to pass 13 state laws to prohibit intrastate sales in elephant ivory, in addition to Washington, D.C. So we'd like to see that law passed in every state.
Okay. Not sure how much this matters, but I'm curious at this point in the investigation, how aware do you think these retailers who were caught selling the items were of the source of this ivory and the laws regarding ivory?
This is an important point, and thank you for asking that, because, again, of the murky law. A lot of the vendors did not know what they were selling. They weren't sure the age or the origin of what they were selling. And under federal law, if you are going to sell elephant ivory, you can sell antiques, but you have to have documentation that demonstrates the age and origin of the piece and the species. Otherwise, you have no idea where these products came from, and none of the vendors had that documentation. So these items could have come from recently poached elephants and slashed off their faces in recent years.
Okay, so let's talk. We haven't really mentioned what this means for the animal itself, right? Why there are laws in place. Can you talk about that real quickly?
Absolutely. African elephants are critically endangered species. I think most people have seen the horrific images on TV. Just how ivory is obtained, and 10 to 15,000 African elephants are killed every single year to supply this illicit trade. They don't have time to waste. They are steps away from extinction, and federally there is a strong ban on the sale of elephant ivory, but we need state law to close that loophole. So that is why we are delighted that the Connecticut Animal Advocacy Caucus is going to introduce legislation to do just that.
All right, Catherine Kohlberg of the Humane Society, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you joining us.